Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to do a video, I think I'm going to call it my EDC knife journey. From where I started carrying knives to where I'm at today, and kind of how that's evolved, and some of the knives that I've carried. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'll hit the high points, and I think you guys will find it interesting. I've carried quite a few knives, and the reasons that I've done away with those knives. Some knives I've lost. I may speak of those ones, and just kind of, I don't know, just a fun little video down my road of my journey of carrying knives. So stay tuned. All right, so the very first knife that I ever bought, this had to have been 4, 5 years ago. I haven't been into this stuff for very long, but I've been into it for a decent amount of time. Is this Tac Force Speedster model. And I didn't know anything about knives back then. I still don't know that much. I mean, I know enough, but it said police on it, and I didn't really like that, so I scratched that off. I'm not a police officer, but it's got a glass breaker on the end, and it's got a cap opener on it and whatnot. And actually, believe it or not, for the $4 that I spent on this knife, it's solid. It's the steel. What kind of steel is it? 440 stainless. So is it 440C? I don't know. USA design, handmade in China. But anyway, I got this thing sharpened up really nice. I carried it for a long time because I just wanted to get into. I carry a knife with me all the time, and I'm just not going to get rid of this knife because it's where it all started for me. There's absolutely no value to this other than sentimental, and I don't carry it anymore, but it does stay in my drawer here in my office. Every once in a while I'll take it out and I'll play with it. I'll flip it open, but it's a liner lock design, assisted open flipper, and it's solid. There's no side to side play, no up and down play. It's solidly constructed knife. I don't exactly know what the weight on it is, but anyway, back before I knew about tip up, tip down, this is a tip down right side carry only, blah blah blah. Anyway, $4, awesome knife. For your first knife, heck, I didn't know nothing about it. I guess I never thought when I bought this that I'd be carrying a $200 Benchmade. But anyway, so after this knife, I decided that I started watching some videos. I started watching Nut and Fancy, and they talked highly. Other guys talked highly of Spyderco. So my first knife that I would say that had any uppity value to it would be the Spyderco Tenacious. And this is a limited edition green. I just happened to run into it, so I picked it up. I really like this knife. I don't carry it much anymore, but I like the full flat grind blade. I don't mind 8CR13 MOV. It's a decent steel. I don't mind that. What I look for in a folding knife is somewhere in the 3 inches to 4 inches blade. I really like the 3 to 4 inch blade on these knives. Weight isn't so much of an issue to me. This one comes in at 4 ounces, which to some guys that might be heavy. To me, it's not such a big deal, and you'll see later on here in one of my all-time favorite knives, it's actually even heavier than this one. So my next knife was the Spyderco Tenacious. I rocked this one for quite a while. It is made in China, and from what I can gather, is the quality control over there is pretty outstanding. So I'm not really turned off by the fact that it's made in China, but I do like made in the USA stuff. Obviously, who doesn't? So the next knife that I purchased was this SOG Trident. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. SOG Fielder. I'm not even going to edit that. SOG Fielder, which is it's a decent knife. It keeps a nice edge. I'm not entirely sure of the steel. I'm sure it would say online, but again, tip down, right hand carry only, blah blah blah. Decent decent looking knife. This is kind of a gentleman's knife, I think, with a little blingy with the silver on it and whatnot. I will carry this from time to time still if I get dressed up, but not very often. So this knife was short-lived in my pocket, but I did carry it for a while. Let's see. Then what happened was I went to Tennessee and I visited Smoky Mountain Knife Works and I purchased my very beloved Benchmade Barrage 580. Carried that for quite some time and I lost it. So then what happened was now I'm to a point where I've lost my Benchmade and I need to replace it, but what do I replace it with? Because I don't have $150 to spend. I'm really upset that my Benchmade's gone. But what do you do? So now you got to replace it. So I go back to the Spyderco, carried the Spyderco for another short while, and then I was just like, you know what? I've carried this knife a lot. I want to try something else. So the Kershaw Cryo, decent little knife. HCR 13 MOV steel, which it's not a bad steel. I don't mind it at all. The deep carry pocket clip on this one, I really like it. Carried that for a short time. One of my favorite knives still to this day, and I still carry it often, is the low price, high quality Ontario Rat 1. Man, I just really like this knife. The ergonomics of it, Taiwan produced again. The pocket clip on it is nice. Aus 8 steel, I don't mind Aus 8. It's, from what I hear, it's a lot like HCR 13 MOV. I don't mind it at all. So I carried this knife for quite some time and still do. This knife actually stays in my pickup, and sometimes I'll throw it in there. And then I picked up the Buck Vantage, which something about this knife just doesn't really strike my fancy. It is a USA knife, which I really like about it. Deep carry pocket clip is nice. Just the steel feels chintzy on it, and I'm just afraid to use it, like hard use. I'm just afraid to do that. So that knife got kicked out of my rotation fairly quickly. And what did I move to next? This knife here, this is a CRKT Ripple Ken Onion design. The nice thing about this knife is it's super lightweight, but it's just a little bit small for my liking when it comes to EDC. I'm not a huge fan of how the liner lock works. You can barely get your fingers on it. It's a tip down right side carry only. It's a flipper design. The flipper works really well. That was a pretty short-lived knife. Let's move some of these out of the way here. And then I decided to step up just a little bit and go to another Benchmade. I went to the Benchmade Grip Tilian, which I like this knife. I love the modified sheep's foot blade. I really like that design, but the plasticky scales. I wish they would come out with this knife in some sort of G10 or some other pattern, aluminum. It just doesn't strike me as my favorite feeling knife in hand. It kind of feels cheap. Obviously, it's not. It's it's a Benchmade with the axis lock, which is fantastic. My favorite locking mechanism. This knife's it's pretty girthy too. It's really wide, and I'm just not a fan of that. But it does fall into 3.45 inch blade length. 3.25 ounces, which is decent. I really like the steel, 154 cm. That's the same steel that was in my Barrage. I really like that. That's good steel. This one has the Spidey hole, Spyderco style deployment on it, which it works. I think I'd prefer a thumb stud on this particular one. But so this one, there's a little bit of wear on the pocket clip. I don't know. I probably carried that for a month. It's still super sharp, and I haven't had to sharpen it. So then I went and I bought This is a discontinued Benchmade. This is the Nitrous Striker, the Benchmade 913 with the D2 tool steel. And this is an assisted opening knife. I bought it used, and I'm not even sure. Let's see here. I'm not even sure the handle material. It's probably G10. Let's see. I have it up here. G10 textured handle scale. So my issue with this knife is I just can't get this D2 to sharpen up like any other steel that I've had. Maybe it's because it was thrashed on and I'm having a hard time bringing an edge back to it. I'm not mashing on D2 because this is the only D2 knife that I have. But this is a Benchmade. It's assisted opening. It's a liner lock Benchmade, which is pretty uncommon. I prefer the axis lock, but so I carried this for a short time, and I would play with it a little bit every day on the sharpening stones and see what I could come up with it. See if I could get it sharp, and you know, it's for printer paper. It does okay. It still tears a little bit. This edge here, which is, I don't know if I can get it to focus. It's still kind of a rough. It's not a smooth cut. It's not as smooth as, say, this grip Tilian that I have yet to sharpen. The buck is still super sharp. I mean that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here, I'm rambling. I hate it when people ramble, and here I am rambling. Is I just can't get this steel sharp, and I don't know what it is. Is it my fault? I would tend to think not, because I can get my other knives sharp. So, I don't know. Then I went, and this is a cold steel mini Recon. I bought this because I was at a gun show and they were 50% off all cold steel products. I said, well, I don't have a cold steel product. Give me that knife. I think it was, I don't know, 60 bucks or something, because it was half off. So this falls into the category of being a little too small for EDC, but I did carry it for a short while. I really like this knife. I don't know. I don't have anything against it. It's not a. It's kind of, to me, more traditional. It's not really a. It's not assisted. It's not a very quick deploying knife. It's almost easier just to deploy it like that and not try to do it all fast. You know, the lock back is a little bit more traditional. So I carried this one for a short time, and then I decided let's step it up and spend a little bit more money. And this is a beloved knife of mine that's hated on by many, loved by many. This is the ZT-0350, and this knife, oh man, beautiful. I just love this knife, and I ran into an issue with this. The way that the belly is on this knife, it was really hard to sharpen in this area right here. So I almost had to sharpen it in two different configurations. I had to sharpen this area here, and then I had to sharpen the belly to the tip. And it seemed to work out. It's very sharp now. It does perform pretty well for me. I do like this knife. It is a little bit heavy though. It comes in at 4.8 ounces, which I think that's why a lot of guys thrash on this knife, is because it's so heavy. But it has these monster stainless steel liners in there, and they wrap all the way around the outside. And this, it's just super rugged and thick, and I feel like I just feel tough when I have this knife in my pocket, if you know what I mean. So I really love that knife. So now we're getting into my most carried knives, and that would be the Zero Tolerance 0350 and the Benchmade 940, baby. Oh yeah, this thing is, I can't even explain how beautiful this knife is. It's just, I've never held anything in my hand like the 940. It's just, it's perfectly balanced. It's handsome. It's sexy. It's this reverse tanto blade. Oh, just everything about this knife. And it comes in at 2.9 ounces. Are you kidding me? This knife has been around for ever and ever and ages, and I'm not gonna, the purple backspacers, I mean, get a load of that. How cool is that? I mean, it comes out like an assisted opening knife. It's just so fast, but really it's not. And just, it's almost like I bought it and it was already broke in. I mean, look at that. Just oh man, I marvel at this knife. I pull it out of my pocket and I stare at it. I stare at the lines and the beauty of it. I'm very proud to own this knife. It's the most expensive knife I've ever bought, coming in at $190. I hope I don't lose it. I've used it for a pry bar. This spine right here works really well for a screwdriver if you need to. But it's so light that you can't even tell that it's in your pocket. But the 940's been around for a long time, and now they have different configurations. They have 940-1, 940-2. But it's just one of those designs that's just proven itself. So it's just, that's why it's still around. But when I pull this knife out of my pocket at night and set it on the nightstand, I smile because I love it that much. And sometimes, moving all these other knives aside, I still show the ZT some love, and I will carry it from time to time. And then in my other video, I showed you my Spyderco Pacific Salt. I do carry this from time to time as well. It's also super lightweight, and I'll carry this like when I go kayaking, or if I'm going somewhere with high humidity, where I don't want to chance getting rust on my blade. I'll just leave all my other stuff back at camp, all my other knives at camp, and I'll just take the Pacific Salt with me because that's what it was intended for. So my main three knives that I carry are right there: the ZT-0350, the Benchmade 940, and the Spyderco Pacific Salt. I do have a couple other knives here. This is the Emerson Kershaw collaboration. Not a huge fan of it. It's tight. I don't like the disc deployment. It does work well though, the wave to pull it out of your pocket and deploy it, but I'm not a huge fan of that knife. This is a Gonzo. This is like a Benchmade knockoff. So basically what you got here, for guys that don't know about the Gonzo, it's they just take other knife manufacturers and they copy them. Basically what you have here is you have a Rat 1 with a Benchmade axis lock in it, and it's all right. I don't mind it. They use 440 steel in them, but it's cheap. They're like $15. So if you're looking to get into knives and you want something that replicates something else without the cost, Gonzo's not a terrible way to go. Fixed blade EDC knives, I don't generally carry a neck knife, but I do have a couple fixed blades. This is the CRKT Minimalist. This hangs in the rearview mirror of my Chevy truck, the Colonel. Then I have, let's see, what else do we got here? This is the SE Candrew. This little knife rides in the rearview mirror of Recon, the Super Duty. And then, what else do I got here for fixed blade? Oh, the Gerber Ghost Strike. This doesn't really ride anywhere. It just hangs out at the house here. I've used it for a couple different things. And then from time to time, I was carrying this hot and heavy for a long time, the K-Bar TDI. But I've just found with my work that it's just kind of cumbersome, and I don't really like it on my waistline. But if I'm going somewhere where I can't have a gun, yeah, the TDI is on my belt for a self-defense knife. So that's about it for fixed blades. From time to time, I do throw the Victorinox Cadet in my pocket just to have, you know, the bottle opener and the screwdriver capabilities. If I don't carry my Leatherman that day, then I will carry this just to have a little bit more capability. So that's my knife journey. I do have other knives around here, but I mean, starting from a $4 tack force on Amazon and moving up to $180 Benchmade 940. I mean, that's just kind of that's a real journey there. I don't collect knives per se. I carry knives. I wouldn't mind collecting 940s though. I think it'd be cool to have if they come back out with like the red one and the blue one, and I wouldn't mind a 940-1 or the 940-2 with the G10 handles. But anyway, it's just, I mean, I've come a long ways from this knife to this knife, and just my journey in learning about steels. And let's see, this is S30V on this one, also S30V on the Benchmade. I like S30V steel. Seems to be a pretty premium quality. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because I know a lot of people are probably in the same boat where they just started out buying just cheap $5 folders, and then you start watching guys like Nut and Fancy and Such and Wrangler Star and all them guys. And you know, thanks by the way, Nut and Fancy, because you know, I spend a lot of money because of you. But hey, it's all in good fun. And I don't do reviews. I've said this in the past. I don't do a lot of reviews on this type of stuff because I do buy it. I don't work with anybody. I do buy it with my own money. And by the time I can afford something like this, it's really not. It's been reviewed hundreds of times, and there's just no point in me putting in my 2 cents with it. So you may see some of my knives talked about in a video like this. I'm obviously not going to give a whole lot of specs on them and everything because it's not its own individual review. But there you go. That's my EDC knife journey over the past 5 years. I'm still learning. There's still knives that I want, but I mean, just as a guy that doesn't collect knives and just carries knives, you know, I'd say that I got quite a few here. I don't really know how many more knives a guy needs, but I think it's more or less how many more knives does a guy want. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel and more videos to come. Thank you.